When it comes to live service games, they've just become so formulaic, so predictable, so ridiculous, and so demanding. From the Fortniteification of many franchises like COD adding Nicki Minaj or American Dad, to just how many games demand all of your time just to finish a battle pass. Truthfully, I actually enjoy the concept of live service. It's often just the execution that stinks. Ever since Helldivers 2 released, I've been floored by their live service model and aspirations. Now, did they fuck up at the start with balancing? Yes. Did Sony fuck up on their behalf? Also, yes. But Helldivers 2 is still setting the standard for live services. Let's just take this recent crossover, okay? I've seen Darth Vader in Destiny, Mass Effect in Battlefield, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Call of Duty. Helldivers 2 is not shying away from collaborations, but it's doing right by them. In adding both Killzone and with the release on Xbox coinciding with an ODST war bond, Helldivers is embracing collaborations, but it's not losing its identity in doing so. Both of those collaborations are a natural fit for the game. ODSTs especially, they're almost like the original Helldivers in being Helljumpers. There's so much love and care crafted into these collaborations that whilst it's really cool to have an AR and SMG and the shotgun from the ODST game, it still feels like a Helldivers experience at its core. And I think that's really important at a time where many shooters can feel quite generic and lacking in an identity. Helldivers 2 says, nah mate, we know who we are. I'm sure down the line we'll get something Warhammer or maybe Predator, but I'm not at a point of concern where Helldivers loses its core in doing so. Perhaps the part that I love about Helldivers 2 the most is how this live service is supported. Free-to-play games are becoming ever prevalent in the industry to the point where there's now this expectation that if you're a live service game, you should go free-to-play and get as many people in and just go the battle pass and cosmetic route, and as a result, will make battle passes so grindy and will timegate all the challenges and unlocks. The biggest plus that I can say about Helldivers that has been there from day one is the game is not demanding of your time, but it does reward it. There is very little fear of missing out apart from say big events like the Battle for Super Earth or the Fall of Mavalon Creek. Helldivers does not punish you for taking time away from the game, but it does reward you for putting time in via the ability to earn premium currency in the game. Battle passes, they don't expire. Battle passes remain after release for purchase months and years later. I just think it's such an excellent model that means there's no pressure on the player to devote all their time in one period to this one game. I can name so many games that once you're out of the loop, it's so hard to get back into it because content overload or a constantly shifting meta, or to be able to compete again, you need hours and hours each month. Not to mention a rigorously tuned battle pass that demands you there every day to complete it. There's a bigger conversation to be had about free-to-play versus a paid game, and just how shallow free-to-play games have become in trying to attract a big audience. I'm very keen to see how Arc Raiders and Marathon and other premium co-op or multiplayer titles do going down the paid route. I think a smaller dedicated audience is bearing more fruit than the free-to-play ones when they're not a colossal IP like Marvel Rivals. I think Helldivers has the best model in terms of time, cost, and value for a player. Of course, yes, items are locked behind war bonds, but I always think that war bonds are mostly fair value, and the opportunity to earn currency in-game is a great trade-off. There is not many other games that you can say that of. What's also really refreshing about Helldivers is how unpredictable it is. Many live service games focus on repeatable seasonal content. You get a new battle pass, a new map, a new character or hero, and repeat that every 3 months. Look, live service is hard. I do not envy the content wheel that has to come from it. Helldivers 2, it doesn't really have a traditional seasonal model. Of course, its war bonds follow a familiar cadence in weapons and armors and items, but the delivery of Helldivers 2 content isn't formulaic. A mixture of big content drops and smaller ones. I love this personally because those smaller ones can add up when you've been out of the game for a while, and the bigger ones always feel like this massive event to come back to. Not everyone will agree on this, but I find that way more exciting than traditional seasons. Even though I'm not always playing Helldivers, I like how it builds towards the big conflicts. I feel like I'm always hearing about it. The introduction of the Illuminate, the battle for Super Earth, just simple in-game storytelling, and we don't have to have this big reveal event months before. You hear about it, and most of the time, you're playing it within a week or two. There are elements about Helldivers I'd like to see improve. I do think it could do with more meaningful progression and expanded methods of progression. The sample cores just aren't very exciting for what is such an important part of the game's upgrade systems, which do have a big impact. I'd like to see different ways to incorporate that, whether completing a side objective drops a load for you to pick up, or an in-game event spawns every couple of matches, just to change things up a little bit, because I do think the sample collection can get quite monotonous. The same applies to how super credits are picked up through scavenging the pods. Again, it's brilliant, they are earnable, and I really love that, but it would be nice to see different measures implemented in terms of ways to be able to obtain them. I do also think the game has a myriad of technical issues regarding stability. It used to be me, I always used to go through crashes, but whenever a big content drop does happen, I feel like I see a lot of talk about how many people are having crashes to desktop or on the PS5. I also believe the armor needs readjusting. I think they could do so much more interesting things with stat distributions and the intrinsic perks that lie in the armor sets. Whether that's planetary bonuses or even synergies with weapons could be quite cool. I know some people disagree, but I would love to see transmog in there as well with these perks. Still, the core of this game is just so good, man. I think the Terminids are still by far the most fun to fight, but what the game has done extremely well is make every faction pose a different threat. Sure, every faction has a melee, ranged, and colossal foes to take down, but they all function that little bit differently, and they make you change up your arsenal. For example, I'm not bringing a flamethrower to fight the automatons, but absolutely for the bugs. Gotta burn them. I think that's a really impressive feat, because so many shooters, despite having different functions for different enemies, they don't often make me think about a loadout change depending on the threat, other than what's the meta in sheer power. The idea of bringing the Halo SMG for a more covert operation means I need to think about what else am I bringing to really pack the punch against a bigger enemy. Perhaps what's most exciting about Helldivers is I think its best days still lie ahead of it. When I think about the amount of enemy types and stratagems and biomes and mission objectives that are already in the game, I think Arrowhead can afford to take some big swings in terms of new enemy types, and soon we're going to go to the Terminid Hive planets and we're going to have some indoor environments and we're going to have to search through the cave tunnels. As a result, gone is the support of the Super Destroyer and stratagems, and I think the gameplay of Helldivers is that good. This sounds like a different experience to me, a more intimate shooting experience, a bit more horror. Not to mention surprises. They detailed one new enemy type with like a mutated terminid, like dragon roaches I think it's called, and the existing enemies are going to have new movement patterns, but there's going to be new surprises beyond that. It reminds me of discovering the new Illuminate enemies for the very first time. And look, this video purely sounds like I'm here just to glaive Helldivers, alright? But the standards are just so low in live service games, man. So predictable and therefore exhausting. This game continues to feel like a breath of fresh air. And yeah, this one had a monumental launch and not everyone can replicate that. But I do hope others are taking inspirations from the lessons that this game is teaching. To stop being so predictable or so grossly demanding of a player's time. To stop trying to attract this huge day one audience just to have every media outlet do the usual "this game lost 90% of its players in 1 month" article. I'm extremely excited for where Helldivers 2 is heading, and I'm still impressed by how it's continuing to set the live service standard. What do you think though? Are you as impressed by Helldivers 2 as I am? Are you excited by its future? I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, consider dropping a like, and if you don't know by now, Sci-Fi Games, I got you covered. News, reviews, guides, streams, the full shebang. Regardless, I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains, and I will catch you in the next one.